Taiisa Kelly is the CEO of Monarch Housing Associates, and she joins us this morning here on New Jersey Magazine. Taiisa, good morning. First, start by telling us about Monarch Housing Associates for listeners who may not be aware of the organization and what you do.
Good morning. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Monarch, we're a nonprofit organization. We were formed in 1990, so we're a little over 34, going on 35 years now as an agency. We were originally formed to help build supportive housing in the state. So at a time when folks were exiting mental health institutions and coming back into the community, we were helping those agencies that provide services create housing for folks so that they could come back into the community, live independently and successfully continue on living their lives in the community. Over the years, our mission expanded and we started to do work with communities on helping to develop and implement plans to end homelessness. So a lot of the work that we do is both around ensuring we have adequate housing for folks that meets their needs, that has the supports that they need to survive in that housing and be successful and thrive, and then also working with communities to ensure that the services they have for people experiencing homelessness are effective in helping them get back into housing. And then all of the policy and regulatory work that goes along with making sure that those things are happening in the communities and work effectively.
How much red tape do you have to deal with? It sounds like a lot.
Daily, everything. It is the job, red tape. But I mean, I think it's part of the process to make sure that things work for people on the ground so that their lives are, that they're able to thrive in their lives.
You mentioned that Monarch Housing Associates going back to 1990, and you mentioned a connection with mental health. What is the connection between mental health and housing issues that people experience?
So I do want to just first say that at the base of it, at the core, when you're talking about people experiencing homelessness, at the core of it, it is about housing and the lack of housing and about lack of income to sustain the housing that people need. But oftentimes we do see for folks that are experiencing homelessness, mental health issues are a significant play a key role in their ability to maintain housing. So having adequate supports from service providers, from professionals that can help people remain stable is really key. We at Monarch coordinate the annual point in time count, which is a count of people experiencing homelessness in the state of New Jersey. It happens every January. And we often find that for folks who do have a disabling condition, mental health is often the number one condition that people identify that they have
And
as they're experiencing homelessness.
And for our listeners who are watching this on video, they can see over your left shoulder the slogan, "Housing is a human right," which I think really gets to the core of what we're talking about.
Correct. Yes, we truly do believe that housing is a human right. I mean, if you think about it, any individual, you can't really begin to think about growing in your life, about expanding, about doing anything if you are still worried about where you're going to lay your head tonight. So housing is at the core. It's at the core of our health. It's at the core of our ability to educate ourselves and to grow. It's at the core of our ability to maintain jobs. It's at the core of our ability to take care of ourselves. So if folks are struggling with just having a place to stay, how can we expect them to address mental health, substance abuse, employment, education, take care of their kids? It's a lot for folks to take on if your basic needs are not being met. So we believe that housing is a basic need and housing is a human right, and everybody should have an adequate and safe place to call home.
One of the reasons that I wanted to have you on this morning, Thaisa, is that your organization, Monarch Housing Associates, just received a large grant of more than $1 million. Tell our listeners about that.
Sure, we're very excited. We received $1.25 million from the Bezos Family Day One Family Fund, Bezos Foundation Day One Family Fund. We're very excited about this grant. It is the first time in our agency's history that we've gotten a grant so large, and it is all going to be used to help address housing and issues for families that are experiencing homelessness in New Jersey.
Over the last 6 years, Day One Families Fund has issued nearly $750 million to organizations. And I believe there were four here in New Jersey, and you, of course, in Cranford. Congratulations on that, because that's
Yeah.
such an honor, and I'm sure that money is well needed.
It is critically needed, and it is going to have, I think it's going to have such a huge impact. There's so much that we need to do to help support families that are experiencing homelessness. And as you can imagine, it's hard to figuring things out for yourself if you're experiencing a housing crisis, but add on the fact that you have young children that you're also trying to take care of and keep a roof over their head. So it is really important that we have resources to help those families move back into housing as quickly as possible so they can stabilize and their kids can have a full, healthy life. So we're really excited. We're going to be using that funding to help support statewide efforts to address family homelessness. Unfortunately, in New Jersey, the numbers are going the wrong way. Since, as I mentioned, we do the point in time count since 2022, we've seen a 50% increase in families experiencing homelessness in New Jersey. So there's a lot that we need to do to help stabilize our families that are experiencing homelessness and ensure that fewer families become homeless.
And the impact, of course, of that homelessness issue especially hits home, no pun intended, at this time of year with the holidays.
Yes, definitely. And, one of the things that we see, especially with family homelessness, is that oftentimes for people who are adults who are experiencing homelessness, a huge predictor of whether or not they're going to experience homelessness is that they experienced it once as a child. And so if we can cut the cycle of children that are experiencing homelessness, if we can cut the cycle and break the cycle so that folks can then regain stability in housing, we can create a better opportunity and future for those children and for the generations to come. And of course, at this time of year, when folks are really, taking that time to be thankful for all the things that they've got, connecting with family, we think about being in our homes, we think about celebrating with folks, we think about gifts, and we think about all of these comforts that we have. And unfortunately, there are too many families in New Jersey that don't have that at all.
What in your journey brought you to Monarch Housing Associates, Thaisa?
Somebody asked me that question. It's a very interesting path that I took to get here, but I think at the end of the day, I've always been committed to and really interested in addressing the needs of people experiencing homelessness and addressing housing issues because it's hard to walk down any street in any community and see somebody in need and without a roof over their head and not want, not feel. For me, it's been really hard not to do something about that. I did take a little bit of a detour and try to do some direct work and realized it was too difficult for me personally. It is hard to do. And I truly applaud the frontline workers that are doing the work, working with people and trying to help them identify solutions. The strategy that I took in coming to Monarch is taking a little bit of a step back and helping to think about how we're planning for the system, how we're planning to ensure that we have the resources and that the agencies that are doing the work on the ground are doing that work. So the $1.25 million that we received from the Bezos fund, most of that money is going out to community providers to do direct work. $1 million of that is not staying, 250,000 will be staying with Monarch, but $1 million of that will be going out to community providers to do direct work, specifically to get families back into housing. So helping to pay rent, helping to pay application fees as they're trying to find apartments, helping to pay for moving costs. That money is really going to be going back out on the ground to help those families.
Thaisa, for our listeners who want to learn more about Monarch Housing Associates and maybe how they can get involved and help, where can they go?
Sure. Folks are welcome to visit our website, www.monarchhousing.org. We've got some information. They're welcome to also reach out to us. There's contact information on our website, and we're happy to share any information we can about what's going on in New Jersey around homelessness and what are the solutions. And at the end of the day, if we can get folks back into housing, we're succeeding in this work.
And again, that website is monarchhousing.org. Taiisa Kelly, the CEO of Monarch Housing Associates, thank you very much for your time this morning here on Jersey Magazine.
Thank you so much for having me.